It's raining outside, so I thought I'd plan a lesson. And the idea is to talk about scaffolding. So what is scaffolding? Basically, it's an approach to building things that breaks a lesson up so that people go through a process. And when they end the lesson, they're in a different place than when they started it. This improves the likelihood that students will retain the new information that they're getting, and it creates a foundational and experiential uh, knowledge base, not just conceptual. I do this, we do this, then you do this is a great way to engage people in whatever is to be taught. So with that as the challenge, I'm going to create a slide deck. We're going to talk about plant communication. So I want to create a blank board. I'm going to right click here, and this gives me room to be able to draw. So we learned that plants communicate. And here is a tree, let's say. They actually help each other. They communicate with each other. And in my experience, I used to publish college textbooks. And I had an author who was with the state police and said he solved a murder because he hooked a lie detector up to a plant. He basically had an isolated office in which the act was committed, and there were no witnesses and there was no telltale evidence, but he just saw there was a plant in the corner. And so he took his lineup of suspects into the dark room. He didn't, it was all, it could, the people couldn't see what was going on in there. And he had the lie detector on the plant, and the plant registered when the guy walked into the room. So that was my introduction to plant communication. And lately, we've looked at how nutrients are sent underground to one part of a garden, let's say to another. Um, Mushrooms have a right, the fungi move these nutrients around, and that bees and birds also take seeds or honey or whatever, and they move that around. But also, um, plants change their smell. For instance, I've discovered that deer, when they come and they start munching on a plant, the plant suddenly goes into defense mode, and all the plants around that area also put out an odor that repels the deer. So if a deer comes and starts eating at plants and then moves on, well, guess what? Those plants have given it something that it doesn't like. So we want to dive a little deeper into that. And so I want to take my phone out, and it's raining out today, and I'm going to take a photograph of a plant that I see with my eyes communicating. And I want to try and understand what are the questions that I have about that plant and its communication, because it is communicating. With whom? About what? For what purpose? Those are questions as you go out with your phones, take a picture of the plants and then submit your pictures and a little description of what you're seeing, what you think is going on, and we'll talk about it tomorrow. What I noted about this plant, this one right here, which comes out here, goes up there, comes back here, is it leaning? It's leaning way over. And my guess is it's the winter time and it's leaning to where the sun is so it can get nourishment from the sun for its own purposes. But I'm wondering, what is it doing with the tree next to it and the foliage on the side of the wall next to it? Help me understand how the plant in the planter in the foreground might communicate with a tree or with the foliage on the wall next to it. I've got a number of possibilities here of chemical signaling, root communications, electrical signaling, microbial exchange, and light and shade interactions. And I believe that light and shade interaction is at play. In the other words, that plant needs sunlight and it wasn't getting enough, and so it moved in a way to get there. It was strategizing where to go based on its need to get sunlight. And in reality, it's the questioning that we're learning. We might be learning something about plants, and that's true, but really it's being able to see things in a way that leads to curiosity. And we ask questions, and then with those questions, we can dive deep. We have these tools that are amazing. Take a picture, get some input, go back and look again, think again about what you see, and then be able to communicate that experience so that others might benefit. That's scaffolding.